All right. Hey, gang. Welcome to this business talk with Dougie Hoppes. This is hosted by the Atelier Studio Program of Fine Arts here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Um, just a few housekeeping sort of things. Please keep yourself muted unless you have a question. This is super informal, so if you've got a question when Dougie's talking about something, feel free to jump in and ask. And what else? Da-da-da-da-da. I think that's basically it. Do you have anything else to contribute there, Dougie?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is really, really informal. I will let you know I'm extremely open about everything. The problem I find with a lot of artists who do stuff like that, it's not that they want to keep themselves secrets or all the other stuff, but the problem is that say you're doing a show and somebody says, "Hey, this is a great show for me." Somebody else says, "This is a good show," or "On my online sales are awesome." Somebody else says they're not awesome. That person's awesome, maybe $2,000 or $3,000. You're But for me, I'm like, yeah, show for doing $2,000. Yeah, it's not very good. So it's not really, you really don't know what good or bad is or anything like that. That's why I'm open about all the numbers. Also, it's hard enough making a career out of doing this stuff. It's like I try to get as much information as I can. So during this talk, yeah, if you got any questions, absolutely ask, stuff like that. It's very formal, and that's kind of the way I am. All right, so let's go over some of the basics overall. Now, the thing about it is that I've been doing this for a while. You're going to see on YouTube, you're going to see all these things. Hey, guess what? You're going to start out being an artist. You're going to make $10,000, $15,000 a month, do this, stuff like that. Yeah, for the most part, those are all scams. Things they don't tell you is, hey, you can make $8,000 a month. Thing they don't tell you is going, oh, you have to spend $7,000 or $8,000 on advertising. So they don't really give you the full detail. For me to get my business where it is right now, is which is around 150 to 200K a year. It's not huge, it's not small. I'm what I call mid-level artist, so that actually works out pretty well. I have friends who do like 5 or 6 or 800,000 a year. I have friends that do like 10 or $15,000 a year. It's all over the board. But this took me 10 years of getting 10 to about 12 years of me getting to where I'm at right now. This was not overnight things. And the way I do it, I also have a day job. And the other thing I do is that I partition my time. I understand it's a long haul things and not immediate satisfaction type stuff. So what I'm going to talk about today really is you got to figure out how you're going to do this for the long haul. And I'm going to go into some ideas about how to deal with that and a day job at the same time, which for a lot of people you're going to end up doing. That's the reality of the situation. All right. I have three basic rules when I do my art. Okay. And I'll be going over these. The first rule is you got to be so good you can't be ignored. The second rule is you've got to create something familiar, but put your own spin on it. And the third rule is you have to create a connection with the buyer. So look at all the things you go out and buy when you source. It's like you're going to go discount. Like when I go to Discount Tires to get my new tires. Why? Well, I know who they are. I've been there. I like the people who work there. I'm trusting what they're selling me and everything like that. Which means if even if I find somebody who sells things for, like a slightly cheaper price, I'm still not going to go to those people. I'm going to Discount Tire because I've built a relationship with them for buying the stuff. And that's the important part. When people are buying your products and when you're making money off of your art and everything like that, they're buying you as much as they're buying your product. So I will have people come up to me at shows or see me online and go, hey, I've been following you on YouTube or I've been following your Etsy shop or whatever for years. Now I get to meet you. This is awesome. And then they meet you and they're like, oh, and then they'll actually spend more money. They'll sign up for your mailing list, all this stuff because they're buying you. That's important, especially nowadays where everybody's kind of fake. It's kind of like you really want to connect with somebody that is, they is you think is going to be a friend. And people will start creating that connections. So let's get back to the three basic things that I normally do. First one, be so good you can't be ignored. The reality is that as of this time right now, AI is extremely popular. Artists will sit there and go, okay, I don't like AI and nobody likes AI, because, but what they're hearing is other artists saying they don't like AI. But if you ever look at your Facebook pages where they'll post some image and it's like some, wood carving or something like that. If you look at the comments, stuff like that, there'll be 2 or 5,000 comments, like 20,000 likes. These are the average people. These are not artists. These are average people. They love this stuff. They really do. So as long as AI is around, they're going to love it, which means like on Etsy, my dark art sales went from 16,000 a year to 3,000 because they flooded Etsy with all this AI art. The shows, I'm waiting, shows, convention stuff like that, where you can sell your work at, they're going to start going down too, because they're starting to let in more and more art, AI art, and these people are coming in there and they're just buying it because honestly, it looks to the average person, it looks pretty good. And they just want to decorate their walls. One of my collectors has like 5 large canvas prints, like I've got like that, of AI art on her wall. That's the reality of the situation. As much as you'd like to change it, it's going to be hard. So you really want to be so good you can't be ignored, that people walk by, see your stuff online or walk by and stuff like that, go, holy crap, that's amazing. That's the first step. Now, the second step about that is you want to create something that you're familiar with, but you're going to put your own spin on it. There's thousands of dark artists out there. There's thousands of people do landscapes. There's thousands of people do abstracts, stuff like that. There's tons and tons of artists out there. But what you want to do is create something that is uniquely you, and but it's familiar enough. So a classic case of this is that if you're going to like a Comic-Con, you're going to see all these pictures of people who do Iron Man. Now, the pictures are going to be pretty popular, but in reality, the ones that get bought are somebody who took the Iron Man painting and did something different with it. For a while, there used to be, they call them splatter artists, where literally what they were doing was they were stealing art, putting on there, using Photoshop, throw a splatter filter onto it, but it stood out. It was familiar, but it stood out, and they made a ton of money until everybody goes, I hate the splatter look, and then they went on to something different. So that's what they did. They took something familiar that everybody was kind of like, stuff like that, and they made their own little twist. And your customers will buy something like that. The way I do it is for my original oil paintings, besides being oil paintings, everybody says oil painting is really hard, but besides that, what I do is a third to half my paintings are done with paper towels and palette knives. So I get that energy movement and stuff like that. So people come up to my booth are like, holy crap, this is amazing. Because nobody does the paper towels and palette knives and stuff like that to create the texture. So my oil paintings are part detail and part textural. And then of course I have stories that go with my paintings, which are moral and uplifting ideas. So instead of just doing art, that's my twist. So even if a person came up and mimicked my stuff with the AI art, they still have to create the story. Yes. Could they do that and use Chat GPT to create story? Absolutely. Are they going to do that? Probably not, because that takes a bit of effort and then they got to make it sound natural. So, but that's my spin on what I do for my dark art. And the third part about it is, and this is the most important part, this is why paintings sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, a bunch of other stuff, besides the art market where they just go and resell and use it, other stuff. Um, you got to create a connection with the buyer. So any given show, I typically will have 1 to 3 people tear up or cry. I had one show, I had 5 people cry, 4 people tear up, and 2 guys needed hugs. Because what they do is my paintings are like I've got one painting called Escape, where it's a woman, was a woman and she has like a raven above her, and the painting talks about escape, about running away. And I told her the one liner for this is, it's okay to run away as long as you don't run away all the time. And of course, there's a little paragraph that talks about that concept. It's a very popular painting because people look at it like, oh my God, this is me. This is exactly me. I run away all the time. I've got another painting called Eternal Thirst, about satisfaction never comes. I have a number of people who go through Alcoholics Anonymous. They love that painting because they see it and they go, why was what was the cause of my addictions? Because that satisfaction never came. They went through AA or whatever and they got better, but they use that painting as a reminder about why that happened to them. Love stuff like that. And my cards are used as therapy cards. So what I've done is I've created connection with the customer who this is the part of their life. This is the part they understand. And they will go ahead and always buy the paintings that relate to their life. When you're doing a say you're doing a typical gallery landscape, like when I was a gallery landscape painter, I used to paint in Vermont. Well, guess what? Vacation paintings and stuff like that. Locations. I lived in Williston, Vermont, but I used to live in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, a bunch of us. You got people on vacation. They will buy tons and tons of paintings, landscape paintings of the area because they remember their trip there. They will remember it's a reminder of how their vacation was. Selling landscape art in a tourist location is really, really easy. If you do the art really, really well and you make it affordable for your average tourist, you're going to make a ton of money because it's your you remember that creates something familiar but different. The familiar is, hey, let's get a postcard or let's get some prints there. Oh, different. Oh, you know what? I met the guy plein air painting at the park while I was sitting there enjoying my day in the park. That's a connection. Oh, here's a reminder of the park. That's a connection. So I used to sell my plein air paintings that way. So those are the three basic rules how I do the stuff. And one of the things I also do for that part is that I don't do it so much nowadays in terms of art. I do it for other things, but as a rule, I usually took one or two workshops a year on something I was painting that I wasn't very good at. You realize on your paintings, nothing's perfect. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to increase my color palette. Great. I took a workshop on that one year. You know what? Now that my color palette is getting better, I need to increase my figures. Great. I did a 1 weekend workshop for that. I have a day job, so I can't do an atelier or anything like that. So it worked into my schedule. So I would constantly, every year, I would figure out some problem because I had an image, all my images, and I would look at some problem I'm working on. I was like, that's not quite good enough. And I would find a specific workshop to fix that particular problem. Next year, oh, that's not quite good enough. And I will find a specific workshop to solve that particular problem. So rather than, like I said, it's with the day job, my shows and all the other stuff, I don't have a ton of time. So these little weekend workshops all over the place helps a lot. All right, so far. So that's the basic things about how you're going to create our art and everything like that. Any questions so far? Yes. Jeff, what do you got? You're
So
muted. Yep.
yeah, when you're talking workshops now, you're talking online, you're talking literally pack up and go away for a weekend and come back.
Okay, for me, nowadays I do some online stuff. A lot of times I actually will do I prefer the pack away and go away because I'm a tactile learner. Some people could do the online, watch the video and stuff like that. I am not one of those people. I need to physically, and then like so here's an example. So when I was in Vermont, I used to do a weekly workshop and she taught me, her and her husband, it's Karen and Jack Winslow. They taught me how to do plein air painting. They taught me oil painting, stuff like that. So they're taught me the basics of how I used to do art. And a great example is I was doing plein air painting and I do the trees like I did, I draw your little tree, do all the stuff. And Jack comes up to me and goes, can I show you? I'm like, absolutely. I'm paying you. Do whatever you want. This is nothing sacred. So he goes and takes his palette knife and wipes down wipes down like all of my trees, takes a palette knife and puts a couple of highlights on it. Like, and that's it. Really? He says, yeah, it didn't feel like trees. It looked all the everything was too detailed, so everything was flat. But by adding the highlights and all the stuff, I'm like, oh, so that's why I do the physical one. Stable and Kearns was a great person I took one with, where I was painting on the tree and was like, that looks like a tree. It doesn't feel like the tree. So he had me step back and he showed me what to do, and I stepped back there and I did the thing. Goes, all right, it's feeling almost like the tree. What do you feel? I'm like, okay, the jaggedy of the bush, the disarray of the things. So it goes, paint that. So by my third time, I came back and I did that again. And he made a couple corrections. I did that again. He's like, Now, what do you think? It looks like a mess, but I stood 5 feet back. I'm like, that's a tree. And it looks really good. It felt like a tree. It looked like a tree and everything like that. So perfect. That's why for me, for other people can do online, but for me, tactile stuff works really, really well because you're solving my particular problem then, and I need that feeling. But certain things I will do online, like right now I'm doing a vidIQ one-on-one monthly thing. And so we just do video communications once a day. And that works out really well too. I don't need to be physically there. But for me, when I'm physically oil painting or drawing or something like that, I need to be there. But that's what works for me. Any other questions? All right, let's go into the thing. I do want to make one point about, we were talking about the selling and all the other stuff. Chris and I were talking about this earlier. You don't want to do this strictly for money. There's a lot easier ways to make money than doing this art. What you want to do is you want to do this such that you know you're going to create the art. In the beginning, I sold it because I wanted to pay for my supplies. Oil paintings are really expensive, especially when you don't know what you're doing and you want some of the bright colors like the CAD colors. However, over time, I realized more and more people like it. I can make a career out of it. And that literally took me about 4 or 5 years before I actually hit that part. So you really want to do, and so everybody always asks me like brands and what they want to paint and everything like that. It's like, what do you do when you're bored? What do you mean? A friend of ours is like, I love trees. Great. That's your brand. That's what you want to create. Trees. You're going to paint everything around trees because even if you're not selling them, you're still going to create that type of art. And so you don't worry about the money. You create the art. If you're lucky, you can sit there and do some of the basics to sell the work and sell, teaching and all the other stuff. But in the end, you're going to create stuff that you really love. Because the other reason why it is you create something you're going to love. You're going to do a lot, which means now you're going to be so good you can't be ignored. You're going to make your own spins on it because you're not just going to paint trees. You're going to say, this is what I want to say, and this is what I want to paint. That's number 2. Create something you're familiar with, put your own spins on it. You're going to create connection with customers because if you like it for some reason, they may like it for some reason. Now you've got these two people. You've got two people who have this connection because you both like something you've done. So that's why it works much better to create whatever you love. Like when I was doing landscapes, I'm like, told my wife, I had a hard time getting into galleries in Vermont, in North Carolina when we moved. I'm like, I can't galleries. I love landscapes. Like my wife's like, no, you don't. You like landscapes. You love monsters. You do 2 or 3 paintings for the galleries and landscapes, and you're like, okay, doing one for myself. It was always this weird monster painting. Just do that. So I started doing that, and literally my career went from 5 to 10,000 sales a year to the 30 to 40 to the 120 or so because of I now do what I love. And I will paint those even if I'm not selling them because I just love the look of them. So that's really, really important for it. All right, so let's get into some specifics. All right. First, we're going to talk about just general places we're going to sell your art. Now, you've got the thing that everybody knows about. Of course, you're going to do gallery shows. Do not expect, when galleries are going to ask you to do shows all the time, you're not going to sell a whole lot of them unless you've got really big marketing behind you. Honestly, you're not going to sell a lot of them, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I used to love doing gallery shows a long time ago. It's fun. It's interacting with public, stuff like that. It's really hard to make a living out of it. But are the galleries necessary? Yes. In terms of it, depending upon what type of art you do. The thing about it is, if you sell to the public, you're probably going to make 5, maybe 10, if you're lucky, 15,000 on the sales. You're not going to sell the $50,000, $100,000 paintings without the gallery system. They have access, unless you happen to be lucky and know some rich friends who know other rich friends, which is a pretty rare thing. The gallery system gives you access to the people who do buy the $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 items. So they're sales you can make over time, but it's really tough to get a career out of it, make a daily living out of it. And then of course the galleries, of course, is going to take 50%, Most galleries will take average around 50%. But also, here's the other thing to factor in. Some galleries are also, you got to pay for the shipping of the painting. Sometimes that could be like several $1,000s. You got to pay for the shipping of the painting coming back from the gallery, which may be several $1,000s. So I had a gallery showing with one of my paintings from Lexicon, and my wife's like, and literally somebody bought the painting in like 5 minutes of the gallery show, 5 or 10 minutes. All my friends are like, hey, you sold the painting, stuff like that. And my wife's like, that was great. I'm like, okay, why are you not happy about this? It was a $1,200 painting. 50% went to the gallery. There goes, now it's $600. Cost me $200 to ship it. Now I'm down to $320. And at that $320, I have to pay tax on the sales tax. I was like, yeah, that's why it's kind of eh. Whereas if I brought it to a show now and sold the $1,200 painting, I get to keep all of it. So gallery, but like I said, but galleries are important because you can't get to the really, really high numbers unless you're through that gallery system. If that's where you want to go to, fine. That kind of doesn't work for me, but that's okay. All right, the second one, conventions. Conventions, hands down, are going to be your best return of investment. So when I'm doing a show, like nowadays I do oddity and curiosity shows. Typically this year I'm averaging around $8,000 a show, and the shows overall cost me about $1,000 a show. So I've got about a $7,000 profit margin per show for the weekend. When I was doing Comic-Cons, because they want fan art, it was my profit margins were somewhere around $3,000 or $4,000. Playing it, and other events less than that. Now, people will go and say, well, these things are expensive, you're just making money, but you've got to think of a convention not as a place where you sell your art. You've got to think of convention as a marketing. Because what is a convention? People come to the place, they don't know about you. They come to a place, they meet you, create the connection with you, but it's a physical marketplace where they're going to come and meet you and physically talk to you. You have a much higher chance of them actually giving you money at that time than them going to your online store and stuff like that. So really, it's a huge marketing opportunity where you don't know who these people are. All you know is they like similar stuff, what you do, and that's it. So conventions are really, really good for them. Convention life is hard because what's going to happen is, I know friends who are on the road 40 weekends a year. Right now, I'm in a 7-weekend stint where I literally come back Monday morning, do my day job, prep for the show Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, I take off for the next show. And I do that 7 weekends in a row. That with the day job, I don't have a lot of time, and my wife's helping me do the stuff. So, and I don't know how the guys do it with 40 weekends a year. An important part about it is, and I will say this about conventions, if you do a lot of conventions, you're gone for the weekend. I can guarantee if you're gone for the weekend for like 30 or 40 weekends, you come home and you spend all your time in your studio and you have a spouse and stuff like that, yeah, your relationship's going to suffer. It's not going to work. The way I do it is I do the convention, I come home, I do my day job, everything like that. At night, I have my easel downstairs in the living room. Even if I'm doing digital concept, I'll do it on the couch. I don't need to physically talk to my wife the entire time, but I do need to be in her presence, asking her questions. She needs to know that I'm there interacting with her rather than just do the show, come home, sleep, go back and do the show. So I'm still building the relationship by having my paintings in the living room and still doing my work that I need to do while, during my busy times of the year. So and I've had friends who do have problems with that. And it's one of the things, and that's the hardest part about dealing with conventions. All right. Third events, plein air events. I used to do shows, gallery shows and stuff like that. And I used to do plein air events.
I think Jeff had a question.
Yep, absolutely.
Real quick.
Yep.
So we're talking conventions, we're talking galleries, sourcing. Where are you finding out the information for cons? Like I do the Comic-Con thing, I got that route figured out, but the other ones, where do you go to find the information?
Online. Okay. So, actually, that's a really good point. There's two things to do.
I mean, like the like general like sci-fi fantasy conventions and all that kind of stuff, or
yeah, and he talked about the oddity antiquity type thing.
Yep, it's actually online,
which
and at shows.
Yeah, search terms basically and such.
Oh no. Well, This is the way I normally do it. Okay, first you're going to do all your standard online shows. Facebook, a lot of your friends will be artists. They're going to be talking about shows. You look up those shows. First thing. Second thing about it is become friends with the people at the hall. Not fake friends and stuff like that. Become actual friends with people at shows. Because what's going to happen, I went from Comic Cons to tattoo shows because somebody told me about the tattoo shows. I found tattoo shows to oddity shows because somebody told me about the oddity shows. I found these art fairs because somebody told me, one of my friends going, I was like, he's like, oh, where are you going next weekend? Oh, I live in Michigan. I'm doing this show. Really? And they're going to be, if you're friends, they're going to be very open about that stuff. Networking, talking to friends at shows, at conventions is huge. They're going to tell you what are good shows, what are bad shows. The closer you are as friends, the more blunt they're going to be about, oh, no, don't do that show. Oh, I lost my shirt on that show. Or that show's overpriced. But that's usually where I find the shows. Online helps. The other thing I also do is I will actually watch YouTube videos of the shows. Because you don't know what the shows are like. But if you go on YouTube and do the shows, a lot of people are doing walkthroughs of the shows. That's a great source to find out, what is the show like? What is the traffic like? Like a friend of mine was talking about Artist Alley. A friend of mine was talking about the press area in San Diego Comic-Con. I now know that there's no way I'd ever do that because she showed pictures of it on her Facebook page and a bunch of other stuff. That's valuable information. YouTube and all these other, if you can just look up the shows and find out where it is, you can get a sense of what it is. It used to be, they always say, oh, go and visit the shows, but you know what? That's cost prohibitive. If I'm going to go out there, I'm going to spend the money to at least be in the show, and hopefully it's not too expensive.
The other thing that I did early on too was like at least for me, for sci-fi fantasy conventions, I started out doing sending art to fan run, so varied in sizes, but there's a wiki page out there of just listing a bunch of shows nationally and internationally, asking other artists, or even like looking at artists who do stuff similar to me. And then a lot of artists will either post on, their social media or on their websites of scheduled shows for the year.
Yes.
And
Look them
then,
up.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's honestly, your friends are probably going to be the best indicators of which ones are going to work out. Because think about it this way. They've also done the research about which shows they want to do. Like I'm helping this other artist. And by the way, if you ever have any questions, like Jeff or all you guys, you ever have any questions about anything, you email me. I help a lot of artists about, hey, like one of my friends, he's like, well, he's doing punk flea markets. I'm like, okay, you gotta get out of this because you're not making near as much money. But similar to punk flea markets, may want to try these other shows. Oh, his income is actually going up based on shows because he's trying her out. So I tried different types of shows also. And like I've tried makers marks, I've tried daily craft shows, I've tried local craft fairs and stuff like that. I will say that when you're doing shows, you really want to do local ones first to try it out. If you've never done shows before, do local ones to try it out just to get the feel of how to do a show.
What I'm
You know,
hearing too is as you're saying stuff like it's not just the traditional art fair
yeah,
or convention. We could think about like what it is that we like to paint, and then let's say we like painting fish. Well, then maybe we go to some outdoors whatever thing and see if there's like a art market, or who knows.
that's actually a good cut. Here's a classic one. Say you like painting reptiles, right? There's something called Repticon. They buy and sell reptiles. Set up a booth at Repticon because people going to Repticon love buying reptiles. Well, guess what? That means they're probably going to like having art of reptiles on their walls.
Great.
Maybe you can take the art, and this is one of the ideas. It didn't really work, but maybe you could take the art, put it on a platform, put it inside of a geranium. People will say, hey, I've got poster boards. I've got posters that'll fit in your 10 by 20 aquariums, 20 by 30 aquariums, stuff like that. You'll get people to shows buying stuff like that because they love the subject matter. They can use the product and the stuff. So it's not about thinking the traditional approaches. And the thing about it is, and I didn't know about Repticons until I talked to a buddy of mine going, hey, you're doing this reptile show? It's like, No, what is that? It says, oh, it's Repticon. They sell things, but there's a guy there's guys selling artwork there with reptiles. I'm like, and I walked in there going, that's cool. I talked to him. So, oh yeah, it's about $10,000 weekend. I'm like, nice. Your friends at shows are really going to help you figure out a lot of this, where to sell your stuff at for physical conventions and stuff like that. Okay. Any other questions on that? All right. So let's go. Okay. Events, like I said, plein air events, those work out pretty well. I used to do those a long time ago. The sales aren't that great, you know, a couple $100 here and there, but it gets your name out there. And, you know, and it helps. You may get a gallery that picks you up at the plein air events, which then you potentially have the higher incomes if they really like your work. Or they may want to say, hey, I'd like you to be part of our gallery. Got it. Not a problem. And along with the plein air events, remember how I was talking about the tourist areas? I used to do plein air. I used to paint in public, and it taught me to paint and talk at the same time. It's marketing, and I would hand out cards here and there. But when I lived in Williston, Vermont and Steamboat, there are people come up and buy the stuff because guess what? They're on vacation. If you can set up in an area or at a time of year when your people are on vacation, that is a great time to do it. The reason why is, think how many times you go on vacation. You're going to have a set amount of money in your pocket. You're going to burn through that money, whether or not you really need it. So last year at St. Louis, I did really well. 1 year at St. Louis, I sold, the previous year I did like, 7,000 or something like that. This year I did about almost 13,000 sales for the day. I mean, for the weekend. The beauty about it is like, well, we're all like, oh my God, that's good. St. Louis is now great. It's like, it won't be great next year. Wait, why? We'll be back to normal next year. Why? St. Louis happened to be in the arc of the solar, the total eclipse. It was one of the full eclipse areas. Everybody was coming to St. Louis for vacation to see the solar eclipse. They all went to the auto show. Like, half the people here are all on vacation. They're going to burn money like crazy. They're not going to, because they've set aside X number of thousands of dollars and they don't care. You're paying for the experience. So they're just going to like start dumping money on you, which is exactly what happened. We got done with the show. Everybody's like, holy crap, what just happened here? But it's great. That's why like those shows, tourist areas work out really, really well. All right. So that's for and that also helps painting live in public. Okay. So let's see. Do I want to make any notes? Oh yeah. One of the things I do want to pinch about, like I said, conventions are always your biggest return investment. And people always say, I can't do conventions because I'm shy. Very, very valid point. Absolutely. This is what you do. It's a very simple thing. Every one of your products, your major products, like I have my cards, I have my prints, I have my canvas prints, I have my originals on the walls. Every product has a line that I say for the paintings. If they come to my table and they look at print, I go, I flip over the painting, flip over print, go, every painting has a story. On the wall, the ones with the frames are the originals. The ones without the frames, you don't need to frame. They're canvas prints, solid core back. I have a one-liner that I say for every one of my product lines. That one-liner is important because what it does, it helps me break the ice. All you have to say is that one line. They will then start talking to you, and now it becomes a conversation. It's the equivalent of saying hi, but it's a one-liner for your product.
And I've noticed your one-liners are very much like factual and
Yes.
very focused on just little snippets of what it can do for.
Yes. What helps with painting, so if somebody's looking at my original oil paintings, I'm like, these are the original oils. I have 180 paintings. These are the last two I have left. My paintings go very fast. That's all I say. Those are bits of information that they go, oh, now, make a decision. Now, the ones for my cards are a little more difficult because my cards are different types of cards. I was like, well, these are used as tarot D&D. These cards, the creature descriptions used in D&D. These are tarot oracle cards, therapy cards, stuff like that. And I say that kind of fast, but what happens is people are, if you're doing something long, they're listening to keywords like SEO. They're listening to keywords that you're saying, and they will pick it out and ask you about that keyword. So when I say, oh, these are used as tarot cards, D&D campaign ideas, writing prompts for spell cards, or therapy cards, somebody will go, wait, therapy cards? Yeah. Then I'll explain more about that. So the one-liners let me break the ice without being overly too obtrusive. And I let them drive the conversation. Sometimes they won't do anything, and that's fine. I don't need to say anything. Sometimes they'll ask you more, and I'll end up creating more of a conversation with them, which helps create that connection because they're buying me. They go, oh, I met the guy who told me all about this. It's always about creating connections with the people. So that's why conventions and live events and stuff like that are pretty important. They'll help you stand out for the online sales. Okay, so let's get down to online sales. Now, here's tough part. Everybody wants to do online sales because guess what? I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to get out of my pajamas. I don't have to like take a shower. I love online sales. And the beauty about it is that, oh, I can wake up in the morning and make $15,000 and not do anything. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Although I will say that I remember I did an interview with this one card company, and this guy a dungeon master who's talking about my cards, stuff like that. I woke up one morning, this is early on in my career. I woke up one morning and I'm like, there's $1,000 worth of orders here. There's like 15 orders. Holy crap, this is awesome. That's very exciting to hear. You walk up and you always see these emails, purchase, like, okay, that's very exciting. All right. So there's different places. And I'm going to show you my website in a minute once we get past this part, but there's different places for doing your online sales. I highly recommend having your own online store. I use Shopify. I've done Squarespace. I like Shopify overall because I think it's the most professional looking store. Your store cannot look like, what is it called? Not eBay. What is the one where everybody buys the services, or, hey, I'm selling a car?
Oh, Craigslist?
Craigslist. Your site cannot look like Craigslist. Nobody is going to spend $1,000 on a painting on a site that looks like Craigslist, because the first thing they're thinking is like, there goes my credit card. It's going to get sold. It has to look nice. A classic way of doing it is take a look at JCPenney, all these main, remember how I said you want to create something familiar, but your own little twist to it? That applies there too. That applies for your products and stuff like that. So look at JCPenney, Macy's, all these online stores. They look professional. People don't have a problem putting their credit card in the thing. You've got to make them comfortable for doing that. I like Squarespace for my website, and I like because it's got more options than Shopify. But in terms of my online store, I like Shopify. It works really well. It's $40 a month, but I usually have a lot more sales than that, so it compensates for it. It also lets me do coupons and my mailing list, and we'll go to that a bit when I talk about the Shopify site and my online store. So besides having your online store, the problem with having your online store, though, is it's always permanent. It'll always be there as long as you have it and stuff like that. But you have to drive all the traffic to your store, which means you have to do all the marketing. This is what I call a direct marketing location. Shopify is one of them. Etsy and Amazon are also really good platforms because on Amazon, you can do handmade, but since you're creating your own art, you can do handmade, which means Amazon doesn't have a monthly fee. Etsy will cost 20 cents per listing. And here's the thing, they're talking about the fees and stuff like that. There's a rumor going around for Etsy going, oh yeah, it's like, oh, don't do Etsy. It's too expensive. It's 30% a month. No, I've done Etsy for years. I've looked at my year-end sales versus what they charge me. On average, it comes out to be around 10%. And 3% of that because of my credit card. So you're going to lose your 3% anyway. It's around 7%. My online store is around 3 or 4%, with the $40 a month. It really isn't they always, well, but if you sell everything from, if they buy it off of Google, you're going to get whacked with this offsite. So yeah, that's true, but they wouldn't have found your product anyway. Your products, if you're selling products online, you have to think in terms of your profit margins. Do not price your stuff really low where your profit margins are only 5 or 10%. That is once prices start increasing, that's a recipe for disaster. My profit margins on my prints are 95%. My profit margins on my books are 60%. My card decks are something like 70%. You want your profit margins to be 50% or higher because that lets me put sales and deals on my marketing every so often. But you don't want it to be the 5 or 10% that people like recommend. It's like, no, you're going to make a lot more sales, but who cares? If I have to do 50 orders today and I'm really making only like $2 a sale, that's not worth my time. I'd rather do 5 or 6 orders and make $30 per sale. That's more worth my time. So the beauty about Etsy and Amazon is what I call organic traffic. They're built-in platforms in which everybody will come to your stuff and you don't have to do any of the marketing. I have not touched my Etsy shop outside of ad products. I have not touched my Etsy shop or an Amazon shop in several years outside of adding products, and I still make sales on those platforms. I don't have to do anything. They're really, I spend more of my time focusing on my online store than those platforms, but I still make, 100. I typically on those platforms nowadays, I probably make about $200 to $500 a month on sales from just organic traffic that I'm not doing anything with.
And you did, initially, what was it like initially though? Because I remember you had talked about taking a class for Etsy marketing or something.
Yeah, not for Etsy market, for Etsy setup.
As
My
you said.
Etsy shop. So for the first 5 years I had Etsy, I made a total of $39.
Woohoo!
Yes. So there's this friend of mine, Kara Bunton. She is online. It's Kara, and her last name is Bunton, Buntin. I was doing Etsy searchings and stuff like that. I was like, okay, how do I get better at Etsy? And I came across her stuff. And all these people remember how I say that people are gonna say you're gonna make 8 or 10,000 a month? No. And all these people going, I can sell you my things for like, do my online classes for like $1,000, something like that. And I'm looking at all these people, and they got like 5 or 6,000 sales. When I found Kara 5 years ago, she had 23,000 sales. I'm like, and her stuff she had a YouTube thing for where she answered questions about a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, okay, let me follow her. You got 20,000 sales. Obviously, you know what you're doing. Nowadays, I think she has something like 50 or 60,000 sales on Etsy, not including her other stuff. Granted, she has a niche product, butterfly things that has a huge market, but still, it's the proof that she doesn't do any tricks. I literally went from $39 my first year to, now granted, this is right when pandemic almost started, to about 10,000 my second year, 16 and 17,000 my third year and fourth year, and then it just dropped off because of the AI stuff. But yes, when you're looking at, so I really like Kara. One, she's also really nice, and she's she's like my wife. It's kind of like, she's kind of blunt, which I'm okay with. So she says she's kind of blunt in a nice way. So that's for Etsy and Amazon. The other places you can make sale is freelance work. I used to be freelancer where I did work for book covers and for game work and stuff like that. I went to, okay, Sonia, yeah, I'll ask you about that. I'll answer that in a second. So when I'm doing freelance work, I used to go to Gen Con, some of the other places to meet the art directors. I sent out emails to a ton of art directors, and a really good place that I actually found quite a bit of freelance work at was Reedsy, Reedsy, I believe. They were a great source because there's a lot of independents out there, and they're looking for artists to do artwork for their actual product lines. And they've got a really good communication system, stuff like that. I thought Reedsy was really, really good. And during the middle of the pandemic, when shows were stopping, I went back to doing freelance work there. But remember how we talked about networking for shows? Guess what? I got freelance work for my networking because of my friends from shows, from events I go to. That's how I got my Funimation job. A buddy of mine because sitting there going, he was talking about some art with Funimation, and they're like, for some paintings needed for New York Comic Con. Goes, well, I can't do that, but you know, I have a buddy. You would love his style. Looks exactly like that. They looked me up, contacted me, and you know, gave me a heads up. They were contacting me, and they're like, yeah, this is great. So I immediately got the job off that. Networking, understanding people in your industry who do what you do is incredibly valuable. They give you ideas about where to sell your stuff. They give you ideas about what reality of shows are like. They'll send work your way. We do this all the time in the freelance world. I've done this so many times. Oh, can you do this? Nope, I can't do this. However, contact my buddy over here. He can do that for you. And then I'll get a call. Hey, thanks for the recommendation, stuff like that. People do that all the time. Okay. Sonia, what do you think of places like Redbubble or Society 6? I don't particularly like it. I know people do. So here's the reason why I don't like them. First of all, I hand sign all of my artwork. Don't print your signature. Remember remember this connection I talk about with the customers? Well, you know what? You're going to create a better connection with the customers if you hand sign your print or maybe put a little message in there and tell them about that. You can't do it through Redbubble or Society 6. They're just going to send it out there. The other thing about it is that from mine, sometimes they'll buy a print and some card decks and some of the other stuff. So by coming to my online store, they've actually not just bought that one print or whatever, they actually buy some of my other types of products I have. It's about creating that connection, having them understand you. And so when somebody goes and says, hey, I want to do dark art, but you know what? Oh, he has these prints, but oh, wait, I heard he has cards. You can't do that through Society 6 or Redbubble. Now, the other thing I do is I always work with a local printer. The reason why I work with a local printer is because I can get proofs made. A lot of times local printers will give you pretty much almost the same deals that you can get online. You just have to physically go in there and ask them. Like when at my local printer, I went in and asked them, yeah, you know, I'm doing conventions. I'm planning to move at that time, nowadays I move about 300 to 500 prints, but at that time I was moving like 100, 200 prints. I might tend to move about 200 prints over the year. This is how much I'm thinking of moving. And they figured out a deal that I can get the prints made at. But the beauty about it is because I've worked with them 4 or 5 years, I now have a relationship with them. So I'll call them and go, hey, by the way, I'll give them a heads up. You know, by the way, I've got I did a big order around 2,000 prints a couple weeks ago for the next 7 shows. But I'm like, by the way, I'll be coming back Monday afternoon. I have leave on Wednesday. What's the chance of me getting my prints by Monday or Tuesday at the moment? So not a problem because they've worked with me. They've created that connection with me. So I can now come in or some rush thing going, I'm really sorry about this. Can I get 10 prints of this made? I know it's a much smaller order guy. Yeah, not a problem because they've got that connection. So you won't get stuff like that using Society 6 or Redbubble. But I will say some of these things do work out well. What you can do is I know for my canvas prints, I use Pro Prints. I will order 150 to 200 canvas prints every month to month and a half. So they're like Redbubble and Society 6, but instead of having them do the shipping and stuff out to the customers, I will actually pre-order the stuff and have it inside. That way, when I get it, I can sign it, add my labels, story labels to the back and a bunch of the other specific stuff I want to it. So I use them as a processing warehouse, but not as I want to sell it out, stuff like that. But caveat is I do know people. I use for the pen I use is a gel pen. It's a silver like gel pen that works really well. It takes like 2 or 3 minutes to dry.
Is
So
that on your paper prints or your canvas prints or both?
all of them.
Oh, okay.
That's the basic one I use. Yeah. Pro prints. So like I said, put the thing, I like Pro prints because I needed something to put my labels on the backs of them. And the beauty about Pro prints, which I love, is each individual print, canvas print, comes in its own box. That's the same box. If somebody orders online, that's the same box I ship it out. That's the same box I carry into the show so that when they buy it at the show, it's in a box in the bag that I tape up and they can just carry it away. So as opposed to them carrying like the open, canvas prints, so like, no, it's a nice safe box that they can carry around the show. So it works out great. So you can do Redbubble and Society 6, but I would recommend, instead of having them ship out the stuff, you could always do that, have it sent to you, and have an inventory inside your house. You don't have to have a huge inventory, but just have a small inventory out, and then your online store always ships it out based on you. Because it also comes out that the reason why I also do is so you can check the product and make sure it's acceptable before you ship it out. I've had ProPrint sent me the wrong print one time. I have one of my dark paintings, and for Christmas I got an order. I had one of my dark paintings with this creature and skeleton things, and they sent me this really nice photo, canvas print of this family, like 7 or 8 people in the family. It looks like it's gonna be a Christmas present and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there going like, oh, I hope they open this up instead of just getting in the package and wrapping it. I hope they open it up before Christmas morning. Somebody's gonna, and I think it looked like one of those things where, hey, this is our family. They're gonna give it to the grandmother or grandfather. I'm hoping they just don't wrap it up and give it to the grandmother, grandfather. Go, okay, what is this? It's hilarious. I contacted them going, yeah, you need to replace my things, and I think you sent one of the canvas prints to the wrong place. So I always wanted to be like this little bug in like Christmas morning, just see what happens. So well, it was funny. It was like, okay, that's only happened once out of like 700 or 800 canvas prints and literally, I think I've only had like 2 or 3 print problems, and they've immediately corrected them out of maybe, yeah, about 800 or 900 canvas prints I've ordered for them. So they're very good. It takes about 2 weeks. I love them. I think they work great. Okay, so that is, oh, all right. So book covers. Here's the other thing where you can make money at. And it's starting to, do not listen to the people online about this, because there's a thing for affiliate marketing. You can make money off of YouTube, TikTok, and all these other things. The problem about it is, and they're going to say you're going to make thousands of dollars a month. You can only if only if you're getting like millions of people who do watches of your stuff. So once you get a certain number of views and certain number of subscribers, you can start getting monetized on these online platforms. But what they don't tell you is that you really have to have a lot of views to make any amount of money that makes it worth it. The way I'm doing it, and I think it's worked a couple times, but the way I'm doing it is I'm using them strictly as a marketing platform to my online store. So they come to my YouTube channel and hey, creepy bedtime stories, or learn about the painting. Oh, that's neat. So he's using these cards for his creepy bedtime stories. Let me look more about the store. Or, I like that painting. What does he else have? I'm using strictly as traffic to go to my stores rather than worry about the monetization. It may come, that's a nice little bonus, but I don't expect a lot of money out of it. I expect it to act as my marketing tool. And unfortunately and fortunately, it's really easy to make videos nowadays, which means that nowadays, so for a while, it used to be websites. Then it went to blogs. Then it went to newsletters. Now it's videos. For the foreseeable time, for a while, videos will hands down be your number one online marketing method. People love watching videos. And don't do the stupid videos where you're like standing there going, I'm slowly rotating my image. I hate those videos. Do something different. I can't stand those videos. I can't stand all the other, just these viral videos you expect to do it just like everybody else. Because guess what? If you're going to do that, you're going to be just like everybody else. And I like to be slightly different. So videos will hands down be your normal stuff. And Dan, that's why I'm saying that. And like I'll show you my camera I use. I believe I use a Sony ZV-10 for my camera, for my video. And actually, you can probably see it. So this is my video setup layout. It's very simple. You don't have to have something that complex. In the beginning, I just had the camera. Now I added lights onto it. So it's a very simple setup. Just get a corner of the room. But I have that permanently set up because I set it up exactly like my easel downstairs has my paintings set up. My sketchbooks are already down there. And this is where the part we're going to come to It's miscellaneous types of information, general talks. Actually, before we get to that, any questions so far on where to sell your work, like the online stuff? Nope. Great. All right. I have a day job. So I have this couch. This is a really, really hard couch. You sit on the couch. It's the end of the day. I've been awake, I've been working since 6 to, and I usually work from 6 to 4 all day. And then, sometime off for lunch, but that gives me my extra hours so I can do these shows for my day job. And I've worked that out with my my manager, because I've been there for years. So around 4 o'clock, I make time to feed the dogs, stuff like that. Around 6 o'clock, we're done with dinner, we're relaxing, stuff like that. I have this couch and I sit on my couch. It's a nice couch. I've been awake since 5:30. It's a nice couch. I lay there and I'm like, oh, I don't really need to do this. I don't have any shows going on right now. I don't really need to do anything. It's really hard to avoid that couch. So what I do is, remember how I said that because I want to be around my wife when it shows, so I make sure to maintain that relationship. The corner of my living room has my easel. I always have a partial of a painting on that easel. Now, I don't always do it. Sometimes I do listen to the couch. Sometimes I sit there and go, I got to work on that painting. It really needs to be done. I'm tired of working at it. I need to bring it to a show. I need to varnish the light. So I will get up and do the painting. I literally walk up there. I take my bin, put my painting up there, put my paint on my easel, and I start painting, and that's it. I want a video. I'm sitting in my office, lunchtime. I got to record a quick video, 2 to 5 minutes. I look over, great. Turn on the lights, turn on the video, cut the video. I want to draw. I do the same thing. I set up my environment to make it really easy to do my artwork while I have my day job. If you don't set up your environment to do that, you are not going to, if you have to get out the supplies and all the other stuff, you are not going to do the artwork when you're dead tired. You have to make it as easy as you can. So I was helping one person one time who was like, well, how do you get to draw like gestures really quick? I have a notebook by my door. Whenever I let my dog out, I would do a quick gesture on my door. Guess what? It takes like 20 or 30 seconds, but I let the guy out like 5 or 6 times a day. Matter of fact, that used to be my exercise program. So I would get up, go downstairs, drink a glass of water. It's like, I need to make sure I would go and drink water every day. I'd go out, drink a glass of water, do that. When I had 3 dogs and they were all doing like 7 or 8 times a day, I'm like, okay, I can't drink this much water. I'm not getting any work done because it's like I'm more in the bathroom than I am at my thing, drinking water, work. All right, we've got to change that. But you got to make it easy to do the stuff. Once you get into it, the flow will come and you're going to start doing it more often. But it's that little initial part. It's kind of like starting a painting. That first part, that's why people don't like doing the thing. So what I do is I'll throw down paint and just start moving the paint around on my canvas. It's that initial thing that I have to break through. Making it easy to get to my supplies and start painting it makes it easy so that when I'm tired at the end of the day, I can still do it. Also during the daytime, like I said, I go let the dog out. I'll maybe do a quick drawing, or I may do, I normally not brush, but I may do a quick drawing. I may do an email post to my newsletter, something like that. Something quick, 2 to 5 minutes, all the way through. Every so often, everybody has 2 or 3 minute like spots. It doesn't affect your day job. It doesn't affect all the stuff, but you got 2 or 3 minute spots here and there, a lot of them all during the daytime. I make use of those times. So it works out really well. So I still get all my work done. Totally, I get all my thinking done. I get all my compilations done. I get all my stuff done. But I've got like these 3 to 5 minute things every so often that I can go and do. And that's how I incorporate everything together. And if you don't do that, so the other thing I also do is I do typically 20, on average nowadays, 20 to 30 hours a week of my business, my art business. Now, everybody says the daily stuff. I don't do the daily stuff. And the reason why I don't do the daily stuff is because you're going to run into days you've got to do your marketing. You got to do all your other stuff, right? You've got to do your day job. Guess what? The kids are sick. Something happens, or you're just tired. You're not going to like doing this stuff. You're not going to do it if you're not going to like doing it because you're not going to be very effective at it. So what I do is I say, okay, I'm blocking 20 to 30 hours a week. Maybe this week, because of circumstances, I'm tired, burnt out, or whatever, I'm only do 10 hours. Guess what? I'm going to make up that next 10 hours next week. So instead of 20 hours this week, 20 hours next week, I maybe do 10 hours this week, 30 hours next week. I do know that at the end of the month, I like to do 80 hours of work per month. And I know that's going to come up. This is the way I've done it for the last 11, 12 years. It's almost every week I do artwork, not daily, but I factor in some weeks I do more, some weeks I do less. It maintains my balance rather than the all or nothing, because more important than anything else is the relationship with my wife and my dogs. They've got to have a good life, stuff like that. Is being able to do something. Now I'm really bad at this part, but be able to relax part. So now I'm working a little better on that and reading comic books at night. I'm like, now I paint. Oh, I used to paint till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Now I only paint till like 7:30. I paint between 6 to 8, 8:30 or so. I leave the last half an hour to an hour a night, where it's just my time. Some days that's all I get, where I'm so busy the whole days. But some days I get more because maybe I'm on the road or something like that. But you've got to figure out how to make time. That's how you balance the day job and the stuff. And it's not a bad thing to have a day job and be a full-time artist. It's just not. There's a stigma. Go in, go out. I don't believe in the go big or go home. I don't believe in the, oh, you should be all about this. Like, no. Create a nice balance, because if you create that balance, you're going to be able to do this over for the years, not just for this year or that year or something like that. You're going to be able to do it 15, 20 years. Like I said, I got my brand to where it's at because of 20 or 30 years, because I've been doing this for like 15 years, not because, hey, guess what? These 6 months have been very good. So that's how I balance the day job and my art business too. I also have a really good relationship with the people in my work. What was that? Somebody keeps pinging me. Oh, um, I also have a very good, remember about connections. I have a very good balance with my office. I check in with him. I check in with my boss every 6 months. Everything okay? Anything I should work on? Stuff like that. I like to know ahead of time. So I have good communication with my boss. Says, nope, everything's okay. Good. I can keep going that. But I still maintain that checking with them, because my day job's important. That pays for things when, hey, guess what? COVID goes and we lost all the conventions through COVID. So it's about maintaining all the relationships to do what I need to do. And so that works out really well. Um, Social media, day job, our business same time. I already talked about how I improve my art skills. I think that's all the major topics I was going to cover. It's quite a bit. Do you guys have any questions so far? Anything?
I do.
Go for it.
So you talk about the making the stuff easy to do.
Yes.
And that you utilize, you squeak in your 3 to 5 minute time
Yes.
chunk, little baby work moments.
Yep. Little baby milk rose.
How did you get to that point where you were able to do that? I'm assuming this is the trial and error story.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. So everything for me is trial and error. I don't mind failing. Okay, so here's a classic case for this. So every show, I'm always asked by somebody, what's your favorite painting? And I always tell them, my favorite painting is one of the paintings I did in the last 3 to 4 months. And they goes, okay. It's like, look, here's the reason. If I don't have a favorite painting in the last 3 or 4 months, that's two big problems. First problem is that I'm not painting enough. The second problem is I'm not experimenting enough. This is a bit, if you want to do art, and there's a difference. Okay, so this is actually a really good idea onto this. You could be the best painter in the world. Ignore American mentality that I'm the best painter in the world. I have to have a business off this. the number of paintings I destroy lots of paintings. I just destroyed one painting because what happened was that I did the painting, and when I do a painting, I put it in my studio, and if I want to keep looking at it, I know it's done. If I don't want to keep looking at it, then I know something's wrong. And I put it back in the easel going, why don't I like this painting? Because remember, I'm painting for me, not for the customers. I'm painting for me. So why don't I like this painting? I'm like, all right. And I would go take it down. And then what I did was I just restarted over and I destroyed that other painting. But I destroy a lot of paintings because it's about you're painting for you and it's about failure and everything like that. And I fail all the time. So like you said, these little 5-minute things. Yeah, I failed. So sometimes I was like, okay, 5 minutes went to like half an hour going, oh crap. Okay, can't do that. I'm going to get fired. Nope, can't do that. So I have to go change it out. Then I'll do these little bits here and there. By the same token, that's why when I do a workshop, I don't care about people. I mean, people are very sensitive, and I don't care about people changing out my paintings and doing a bunch of other stuff because I'm paying for the workshop to learn about that. That's the goal. Yeah, change as much. The goal is not to say, "Hey, look how great I am." I'm showing the people who run the workshop, "Oh, look how great I am." It's like, no, I could be the best painter in the world, but the goal is I need to learn. And if you need to learn, you're got to be okay with failing at the learning. And like right now, I'm learning how to do sculpting, and they're bad. They're not great, but they're not bad. But my first couple, they're bad. And I'll never sell those or anything like that, but it's still fun to learn. So that goes to the part where if I love learning about it, I love doing what I'm doing, and I eventually will become so good that I can't be ignored. But now, actually, that just triggered a memory. Um, Things trigger all the time. Okay, so remember how I said you should paint whatever you like to paint? There are times where you may make a slight adjustment and don't do something that you like to do. I liked painting ravens. I'm sorry, I liked painting skulls a long time ago, and I like painting ravens. Guess what? Every so often, I've gotten over that phase, but every so often I will put a raven in a skull, or put a skull or put a raven in a painting. Because as much as I like as much as I'm tired of painting it, those paintings sell. That's money. So I may be like right now, I'm in a problem where I've sold all my 180 oil paints. I've got 2 left, and I'm at a problem right now. I need to do 1 to 3 paintings per show. I'm tired. Really don't want to do the 1 3 paintings per show and then figure out the topics for it. But guess what? Because I don't have those paintings for show, I'm losing $1,000 to $3,000 per show. It's a business. You kind of hedge your bets sometimes. But if I'm going to put a raven, a friend of mine once, he's like, oh, if you have a raven in a skull painting, that I've got an owl on a raven on an owl. Sorry, an owl on a skull. He's like, I like something similar to that. It's like, well, I can't do that painting again because my customers want something unique. But what if I do somehow a raven perched near a skull and but the skull makes a nest, and inside the thing is an egg. This painting could be about life and death. He goes, that would be cool. Do I want to paint it right now? No. But if I paint it right now, will he pay me the $600 for it? Yes. Does it get pumped up my list? Yes. I did that for one painting. I was doing a company for a necromancer. He had this big painting. It was a just digital concept. He goes, I really love this digital concept. When are you planning to paint this? Next. I made it next. Contacts me right afterwards going, hey, how much is it? 900. Oh, I'll take it. Got it. You're going to have things you don't want to do right now, but they're a business. Sometimes when they say, yeah, I've got one right downstairs on my easel, and I know I should have painted it last month. It's a skull, and my customer has 6 of my other paintings. No, 7 of my other paintings. She goes, I love it. I want it. And I'm like, okay, well, I think this is going to go onto my list now. And I literally have the painting half painted on my thing. So it'll be done in the next couple of weekends because I know she's bought her 7 of my things. She's already posted on Facebook that, oh, I want it. It's like, okay, she'll probably buy it when I'm done. So you sometimes you do have to do things for business, stuff like that, but just don't make a whole career out of it. But yes, I fail an awful lot. Yeah, Jeff, what's up?
Got some nuts and bolts questions. So
Yep.
storage, you talk about getting a whole ton of canvas prints in or prints in.
Yep.
How do you go about finding space? What's some advice?
I have a
on
3,200 square
storing?
foot house. I have a 20 by 40 room that contains my wife's dog treat business, that contains all of my, I have shelves, these really nice shelves I got from Costco with metal, it has all my products under the shelves. I have one room that has a 10 by 10 room that literally only has my canvas prints and shipping supplies. I have this room that has my art things in the corner. I have a room downstairs. I mean, I have a little part of my room downstairs, and my Kickstarter for my my games. I was trying to figure out how to go and do storage for my games, and one of the things I was a little worried about was, okay, it's a 10 by 10 by 2 box game, 3 pounds a piece. If I order 1,000 of them, that's 3,000 pounds. Where am I going to store 3,000 pounds, 1,000 games? Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, do I do a storage area and stuff like that? Literally, all my friends, we all have the same problem. You find and I have another room where literally I have a bed there, and all my my unframed my frames that don't have paintings in it are all leaning against it. You find it's literally they're packed all over different parts of my house.
Okay.
But you don't, but here's the other thing is, and like, but like I do backing boards for my prints. I get so I typically get 7 or 8,000 backing boards a year. I don't order all 7 or 8,000 at one time. I order about 1,000 backing boards. Yep, line absolutely everywhere. So I order about 1,000 backing boards at a time, and they come in a pallet in a small truck, and I line them against one wall that's like 6 feet tall and stuff like that. Of course, I have to be worried about weight. Oh, and then speaking of that, quantities. One of the other things, this is the biggest thing I made a mistake early on in my career. And I lost a ton of money, like $5,000 one weekend for it. I was doing a craft show. I thought everybody was going to buy this stuff. One of the things I now do whenever I create a new painting, I only print out 5 copies of the painting, 5 prints. That's it. And I bring it to a show. If those 5 prints sell very fast, I upgrade the next show to be 10 prints. I'd rather lose the money and not have them than to overbuy them and not sell them. So I'll do the next show, I'll do 10 prints. After that, the next show, like my popular one, so you'll kind of get the settling thing. So for my non-popular ones, typically 5 or 10. My okay ones, I typically 10 to 20. My popular ones, I typically have 20 to 40. I'm doing t-shirts right now. I've ordered 3 types of t-shirts, 25 t-shirts of each design, 3 smalls, 5 mediums, 9 extra larges, 9 larges, 9 extra larges. That's it. If I sell out of them, I don't care, because I'm using a proof of concept that lets me, by having these small orders, it lets me try these different ideas without huge investments, huge storages and stuff like that. And that's critical for everything. Otherwise, you're going to burn through so much money. Okay, any other questions?
Okay, I'm gonna hog it one more time then.
Go for it.
So when you get your stuff printed, do you do your shooting, or do you hire a photographer to do it, or
I do everything myself.
Okay.
So because remember, everything goes into cost. Now, do I do a fancy thing? No, because the reality of it is that you can hire a photographer to do this really, really nice photo of your thing, but the printing may not be good. The reality is when you're dealing with dark things, printing tends to muddy it up a bit because the bleeds of the darks. So normally what I do is I'll take a photo of my paintings, I bring it in Photoshop into RAW, and then under RAW, I will go ahead and adjust it a bit. Now, because they're oils, I'll have a little bit of glare. So my basic technique is I bring it into Photoshop, cut it out so I just see the painting. Then I run a medium filter on it to knock down all the glares. It looks fuzzy at that point, a little fuzzy sometimes. Then I bring it back into Photoshop and back into the raw mode, run the clarity, run a couple of the things, get the adjustments about right. And then what I do is I save it. Now, then when since I work with a local printer, what I did was I can send it off going, okay, give me a proof of this. And they give me, they give me a proof of it. And I look at it, I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do. So I maybe do like 1 or 2 proofs of it, not too much because it's their business. And what I'll do is I know that typically when I send my paintings off to the printer, I have to adjust the gamma by 1.1 and then sharpen a little more than I normally would. And then I save. Now I have my folder has files that have the captured images that I've adjusted that I show on, Shopify and a bunch of other stuff. But it also has, then I have other folders for 11 by 17, 11 by 14s, 9 by 12, stuff like that for the different printers, because I have to adjust the image slightly differently for different printers. That's where I store that, and I use the same printers all the time. Okay. Oh, that reminds me. So let's talk about let's take a look at the website real quick, and I will show you something that you need to consider when you're doing your websites. Where's the share?
And on the bottom?
I got it. Share. All right. Can you guys see my website?
Yep.
Okay. When you're doing a show online, stuff like that, first thing you want to do is, okay, it doesn't come up because I've been to it. You really want to have a pop-up. I hate pop-ups. The pop-ups let people sign into my mailing list on your website. You really want to have a pop-up. I hate them, but honestly, they work. So you're gonna do the pop-ups. Now, the way my website is designed, so normally what happens, people go to the thing, then they'll go to my gallery, and then they'll hit paintings, and then they scroll on every one of the paintings. So maybe they like this particular painting. They'll click on it, immediately say, here's the story for it, buy it. And they'll click there to the store. I've minimized the amount of things they need to do to go buy it. You want to minimize as much interaction as they can so they can get to whatever they need to do, which is why this part right here, learn about the paintings on my YouTube channel. That takes them directly to my YouTube channel. The next part, this part, here's are my 3 major popular categories for my products. They can go and if they want to buy the print, they immediately go to my store and buy the prints or go to the main store. This is, you do want something personable looking on your site. And the reason why is a friend of mine, Joseph, mentioned about this. This helps you stand out from POD type sites. They want to know that this is a person actually doing the work. Something like this also work. Me, my big thing is every painting has a story. Hi, I'm Dougie and stuff like that. And then this is information about my world. They go to different parts of it. I go gallery, they go to monsters, or read my short stories. So when they come to the site, I give them to different direction marketing things based on whatever they're interested in. And that's about it. And then on my online store is designed exactly the same way. Hey, here's me. Here's who I am. Here's my major products that I want you to take a look at. Oracle and D&D cards. Great. I can immediately go there. Oh, here's my best-selling products at the moment. And here's my best-selling cards at the moment. A lot of stores like Macy's, JCPenney's, and all the online stores, they do that. I also have to make sure people I have about me, because I want them to know I'm a person and they want to learn about me. Also for my store, I have a directory all the way back to, well, that's not working. Learn about shadowmyths.com. Oh, there it is. Yeah. And it goes automatically by site because I don't know, did they come to my site, then went to my store, or did they go to my store, then to my site? What this also lets me do is that you want to do a mailing list. I know people hate having mailing lists and stuff like that. I don't have many people on my mailing list. I have about 1,400 people. And every Friday, I send a 50% off coupon for one print for 24 hours. The beauty about that is that some weekends I'll have somebody, maybe no orders. Some weekends I'll have $300 or $500 worth of orders. Overall, from just that Friday thing, at 50% off, I probably, on average, I get somewhere around $3,000, maybe $4,000 worth of orders just from the Friday. But the beauty about doing it that way is that what happens is, come around Christmas time, guess what? Oh, I want to buy some dark, creepy things for my nephew or uncle. I immediately have a guide to do that, and they're going to go to the website. It's just like like when I was talking in the beginning, discount tires. Oh, I want tires. I already know. First thing in my mind, if I need tires, I go to discount tires. First thing in my mind, if I need this certain product, I go to that type of product. You want to establish that type of immediate connection because they're going to come to you because they've already created a connection with you and they already trust you. So I think that's about it. That's everything we've got.
Cool.
So any final, so like I said, you guys can contact me. A lot of people do emails. Chris will go ahead and provide the emails, but it's doug@shadowmyths.com. I answer a lot of questions for a lot of people. So it's not, and like, it's like Jeff's question, very specific. I'll give you all the very specifics for everything. Now, is this going to make you like tons and tons of rich? Maybe, maybe not. There are tons of artists out there who are worse painters and worse artists than I am, and they make a ton more money than I do. And there's a bunch of people who are like, blow me out of the water. They're really, really good, and they don't make near as much money. It really comes down to being so good you can't be ignored, doing something familiar, but your own twist on it, and then create a connection with your customers. Everything is based on that.
Cool. Thank you, Dougie.
You're welcome.
That was great. Appreciate you doing this. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Good questions.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Yes, danke.
Bitte.
And he's not kidding about the email.
Yeah, I email a lot of people. I have quite a number of artists I work with on a monthly basis. We do check-ins. I'll check in with them. One of the rules I always tell a lot of artists when they're selling things, I'm like, how many pieces are you doing a month? And some will be like, one. It's like, you're not going to make it as doing your sales for business. Really? I typically do about 2 pieces a month, sometimes 3. Overall, I do 35 brand new paintings a year. So I like to have 2. If you don't do enough products, your online's not going to have enough SEO. People are not going to have a variety of things. So you have to create a number of products to actually, if you want to make it for the online sales. Shows are a different matter. You can get away with 10 or 15 at a show. But online, you do have to have quite a number of products to have for sales. I think I have about 200, a little over 200 items for sale on my website. Or yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I will talk to you guys later.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everybody. Thanks, Dougie. We'll see ya.
Bye, guys.